Hey, you're keeping company with Connor, and you're listening to another Town Square Spotlight. And you know me, I love having local music in, and we got a fantastic artist. I was just spending all morning listening to his stuff on YouTube and checking out his music videos. So good. We need to get at least one song on WRRV. It's just perfect for it. I'm going to have to talk to Jonah about that. We definitely need to get that going. With us today, we have ourselves a Catskill musician and artist. We have Shane Rennison here to promote his latest album. It just came out last month. Really excited to talk to him. Shane, how are you?
Good, man. Thank you for having me. How's it going?
Doing well. As we were talking off mic and just in general, you've been waiting on this for a while, and I really appreciate your patience for all this. You hit me up, and it's like, hey, can we get on? And it's like, we got a bit of a wait, and we were originally going to have you on In Touch because Town Square Spotlight wasn't a thing yet, and then it did become a thing. It was like, wait a second, we just got to do this. We get you in earlier. Beautiful. So thank you for your patience. Excited to have you in here, and the timing works out really well because you just released your album.
Oh, yeah. Long time coming, but finally came out.
Finally came out, and that's amazing. The name of the album is Irrational, and there's a title track, Irrational. There's another single that I was checking out before, What You Need to Know. Both of them great songs, great videos. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of this album and this project, I want to learn a little bit more about you. Tell us who you are as a musician. What are some of those inspirations that you've had to bring you to this point in your beginnings in music?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I had I basically just picked up a guitar in 2020. So
really, that late?
Yeah, basically prior to the pandemic, I was running a barbershop in New York City.
Well, that makes sense, though. You do have wonderful hair. I know you can't see him, but I think Shane has the best hair that we've ever had in this studio.
Oh, I appreciate that. Ironically, I actually had a fade at the time. I had very short hair.
Gotcha. Okay.
The pandemic is when I was like, you know what? I'm going to not cut my hair for a long time. But yeah, so basically it was kind of a perfect storm for me. 2019, 2020, right before the pandemic, I was kind of at a loss. You know, I was a college dropout. I went to the University of Florida, dropped out in 2018 because I just wasn't happy. Moved back to New York City, landed this job with fellow barber. It was a great job, met a lot of good people, but I just wasn't happy. Something wasn't being fulfilled spiritually for me. I didn't know why. I didn't know what I need to do. So I started doing some soul searching. And around December 2019, I walked by a Guitar Center and was like, I'm going to buy a guitar today. I played trombone when I was in 8th grade. That's the only musical experience I've ever had. And trust me, I was not paying attention back then, so I have no idea what music theory or anything was. But something in that moment said, go buy a guitar. So I walked in, I bought the beginner starter pack, acoustic, came with everything I needed. And then I stared at it for a month because I never had time to play it. And I remember one day in January 2020, I was like, man, I was working probably 60 hours a week, never had enough money for anything, never had enough time. And I was like, I just wish I had the opportunity to like pick up this guitar, watch a bunch of YouTube videos, and just do that until I'm feel good about it. And then a global pandemic happened. So
there you go. You got some time now.
Yeah. So I hate saying it, but the pandemic was honestly one of the best moments in my life because it just gave me an opportunity to come back to the Catskills where I'm from and kind of take some time to be in a safe haven away from the city, ride out the pandemic. And I did exactly that. I bought a keyboard at the same time, and I just studied music theory for a year straight, just nonstop. And I eventually started to pick it up. I learned how to sing properly. I learned how to play, learned how to write songs. And eventually I started doing cover songs, and that was kind of how I started. I just started learning some of my favorite songs. And eventually I had enough cover songs. I was like, I could probably just like start playing at places. So 2021, the Russian Mule in Claryville, the Russian Mule Brewery, they gave me my first gig. And it was only because she knew my brother that she let me play there. But they let me play. It was a 3-hour gig. It was the first time they paid me to play music. And it was at that moment I was like, oh, this is it. Like, this is it. Like, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life for as long as I can. And since then, it's really just been that. It's been waking up every day, chipping away a little bit at this thing that I'm trying to do. And I'm at the point now where I love it so much. I understand that it's endless. This journey that I'm on is endless. You know, once you find that creative outlet for yourself, you realize there's just not enough time on earth to develop it as far as you want to go. And that there's beauty in that. You know, it's a constant evolution, a constant growth. And I'm on year 4 of that. and there's a lot of challenges, but I'm really grateful because it's been a long journey. But I'm really grateful to have what I have with it right now. So
that's awesome. There really is a beauty to it. As somebody who discovered pretty early on in my life I wanted to do entertainment, it really is an evolution and a journey. And you seem like a quick learner for somebody who picked up the guitar 4 years ago. Yeah. Listening to your stuff, listening to your music, you sound like somebody who's been doing it longer.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
There is, honestly, though, there's a little bit of an imposter syndrome because I haven't been doing it for that long. I'm really blessed to have a lot of amazing musicians in my life, collaborators. My producer Julian that puts these songs together is a phenomenal. He's been playing since he was 5. So I'm just always in a room with musicians that are just so good. So it's like no matter how much work I put in, no matter how good people say I am, I don't really see it that way because it's like I'm still so new in my head. I'm so green. So it's a gift and a curse in the way that like I'm never satisfied. So I'm always working to get better. But at the same time, I struggle to give myself any kind of, I don't say gratitude. Credit. I don't often appreciate myself as much as I should. And that can kind of be a downfall for me because I just, even for this project, people are congratulating on me. But for me, I wrote these songs 2 years ago now. We finished the music back in January. So my head is in a whole different space of like trying to work on the next thing.
Yep.
So that's something I've really been trying to work on is to take the time to appreciate the work that I have done up to this point, feel good about it, and move on. But it's tough, man, because I'm always in a room with musicians that are just way better. So it's like...
But that's not so much of a problem. And it's funny you say that because that's something I had to learn. I went to the College of St. Rose and studied in their music industry department.
Okay.
And that was like, obviously, I was a theater kid. I was a music kid. I was surrounded with great musicians in their own right doing that. But when you go to like music college and you're surrounded by like really good musicians. I remember the first week I was there, go to an open mic, and I'm listening to all the upperclassmen perform.
Oh, man.
And
daunting.
Oh, my God. It was so daunting. I had all of us freshmen that found each other. We're kind of hanging out together, and we're listening to everybody, and we're like, well, I'm just going to rip out my vocal cords. I'm just going to throw out my drumsticks.
Maybe try marketing or something.
Yeah.
Finance.
It was so daunting. But then as time went on, you realize it's not so much... You don't need to be the best one in the room. You just got to be able to know how to collab to be able to create the best thing for you.
Yeah, and I think asking the right questions. Like
yeah.
when you're in a room like that, I mean, that's the way I've started to look at it now. It's like it is a blessing. Like being around those people, like you kind of have to, dial down that voice in your head that's like, oh, I'm never going to be as good as these people, and you really just appreciate the fact that you're in that room. So that you can be like, hey, that thing that you just did that blew my mind, what are you doing there? And then and so I'm really grateful there because a lot of the musicians in my life are amazing people. So like they're open, so I can ask them these questions. And I mean, when people say you've learned a lot in 4 years, it's like that's a big reason why, because I have amazing musicians that are kind of spoon feeding me things that took them years to figure out, and they're just like, hey, here's like a little cheat code. And especially in terms of like music theory, it's like my one mentor, Matt Albeck, is a jazz musician. He's been studying jazz for about 20 years intensely, and he just has a way of thinking about music theory that's just so simple. So like he'll explain a very complicated thing, like the way to use a dominant chord intentionally in a very specific progression, and how simple it is and how it can. So like he just has a way of talking to me, especially as a beginner, that's just like, oh, like light bulbs go off every time I talk to him. So like that's kind of where I'm at now, is I appreciate being in those rooms because it's like there's just never enough questions to ask these people.
Yeah.
I could just talk to them all day. And like some of them get annoyed because like, they're just trying to jam and I'm just like asking them about everything that they're doing. But it's what you got to do when you're trying to like sponge it all up, soak it all up.
That's so great. There are so many people out there who would be so hesitant to even ask the questions.
Yeah.
So many people who they would stop themselves because they're afraid of looking like a fool or scared of starting. But here you are, you're open to it. And that just says so much right there.
Yeah.
one thing before we get into the music, because it keeps staring me in the face. You should have never given me this before the
it's
interview.
Dangerous, I'm telling
it is
you.
dangerous. Besides music, you have another really great part of your life where you're understanding business. And I think that's something that a lot of musicians or creatives in general don't necessarily have that in their repertoire, understanding business.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of creatives out there who are very creative, some amazing people out there, but they don't know how to handle themselves like a business.
Monetize it.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And you have some really interesting background. You handed me ahead of time, What's Poppin' Kettle Corn. You guys your family has a popcorn and kettle corn business. Again, you should have never handed me this ahead of time because I just wanted to dig into this thing. It's low cal. I don't care. It's delicious. And it's so good. So could you tell us a little bit about you and your family with the popcorn business and how you feel that's helped you market yourself in music and entertainment now, how you feel like you can monetize and make a business of yourself? Yeah,
for sure. So basically, What's Poppin' Kettle Corn, we started it when I was 6 years old. So I'm 26 now. So it's been a 20-year, it's been my whole life, really. Like, I don't remember my life before Kettle Corn. And basically, at 6 years old, I'm the youngest in my family. So we had my sister, who's 4 years older than me, my mom, my dad, my brother. He's older. He was kind of already out of the house at that point. So he was never really involved with it. From when we first started, my job was to run the counter. So I'm 6 years old, dealing with the money. I'm pretty naturally smart. Like, I never really tried in school, and I was one of those kids. I went to a small school, so like it's not like saying much that I was able to kind of skate through.
Yeah.
But as a kid, I did notice that I had a natural ability for like numbers, stuff like that. So at 6 years old, I loved dealing with the money. I was always at the counter. I wanted to talk to the people, socialize with the people. I loved when they would hand me $100 bill and then they would say, "Oh, that's $88 change." And I knew that already. Like, and because like people would be like, "Oh, this 6-year-old isn't going to give me the right amount of change." So I loved giving them the right change when I was like 6. Now looking back on that, growing up in that world, I think I was around business at such a young age that I just grew up, knowing how to talk to people. I'm
important.
Yeah, I'm really grateful. Like now I've noticed it's a real skill of mine where even when I'm having a bad day and I'm like in the car cursing because I spilled my coffee or something, I can get out and be respectful to whoever I'm going to approach. And that I've realized is a skill. And I guess I've developed it over the years. I don't really think about it now. But I meet a lot of people that don't have that, where they might be having a bad day and then they go to Dunkin' Donuts and take it out on the guy that's dealing their coffee. So being able to compartmentalize your emotions and have just a standard amount of respect with everybody you deal with is something I really got from business, from dealing with the kettle corn. And also just in terms of like selling a product. So like the popcorn, it was a product. So it was like, how do we sell it? The branding, all of that stuff kind of went into it. So now that music, I look at my music as a product.
Absolutely.
Where, my art comes out of me, what I create is a natural thing. But then once it's manifested, once it's out, it's like, how do I package this? How do I package this as a product and then sell it, find an audience for it? So all that kind of comes from that, growing up with the kettle corn, because now I'm seeing my music as a product. I'm trying to monetize it. I'm trying to brand it effectively and get it to the right demographic, all to, kind of build a career out of it, build a sustainable life for it. I'm not trying to get rich and famous. I'm really just want to be able to afford groceries, pay off my student loans. And when people ask me, how do you do that? It's like, oh, music. So it's like, that's what I'm trying to do. And I'm grateful. It's tough, but everything is, right?
Yeah, no, everything is. It's just a matter of what do you want to persevere through? What will make it feel fulfilling? Right. Everything's tough, but what can you enjoy doing at the same time and be like, yeah, I can wake up in the next day or the next month and the next year. It's like,
and feel that fire.
Yeah, exactly. And you got that fire, and it is fantastic. So I know we've been holding off on it. I wanted to give all like the background. I wanted to get into that because I don't know about you. I love the background story. I love what leads somebody to a moment just as much as I love the moment itself. Because as you know, it's so much hard work before people finally see that final product. And a lot of people don't always get a chance to see or hear about that. That's what this is all about. That's what Town Square Spotlight's about. I want to give a spotlight towards that. Want to talk about your album, Irrational. Again, as I said before, I was checking out a few of the songs, a couple of your music videos. I think they're great. I specifically was watching What You Need to Know and Irrational. They're both great. And Irrational in particular, I was like, damn, this got to get on our station.
I love that song.
We need to. So, and you were telling me before we got on the mic, this is the project that you feel like you're really honing in your sound. Can you tell us about this project and what it's meant to you? Whatever aspect you want to get into about it, but like, what is Irrational all about to you?
So for me, it started me and my producer Julian Giamo. He's an amazing friend of mine. Back in 2022, I originally approached him. I reached out on Instagram and said, "Can you give me guitar lessons?"
Oh, okay.
So he started teaching me guitar lessons. Maybe 2 lessons in, he was like, "Do you write your own songs?" And I was like, "Yeah." I started messing around. So within a month, we were looking at my original music, and he was like, "Dude, let's produce these," because he's a producer. So we put out a few singles back in 2022, but from day one, before we even put that first single out, him and I were kind of game planning, like, okay, we're going to put out a few singles. We're going to use those singles to see how people react to them. Then we're going to release an EP. And bigger, basically, we're going to start small, get a little bit bigger, and then we're going to hit them with a full album. So this has been 2 years in the making. We put the 2 EPs out last year, 2023, Nice to Meet You EP, and the Live at the Outlier Inn, which is with my live band. But it was all leading up to our quote-unquote debut album. I'm independent, but you can call it a debut album. So we've been planning it for a long time, but basically what it was for me was, can I put a full project together, a cohesive project? Because like for me, in the streaming era, the Spotify era, the art of like creating an album that is seamless, that like one song leads to the next song, which leads to the next song and tells a full story throughout the whole album, it's kind of lost. Like now, Taylor Swift puts a 30-song album out, and you go on Spotify, you could start on like song 13. And so it's like the artist might try to like create a story that way, but like the consumer isn't necessarily going to listen to it like that.
There's very few albums these days that do that.
Exactly.
Like, very few. I think the only one that I heard recently that's done something like that, Fall Out Boy's "So Much for Stardust" album.
Yeah,
if you've listened to that. That's one that I recommend 100%. You got to listen to start to finish.
You just hit play and like let it go.
Yeah.
And that for this album, that's what I wanted. I wanted to be able to hit play on song 1, listen to the full album, get to the end, and feel satisfied as a listener. So that was our challenge. So for me, like I said, it was just, can I put this full project together? So we took these 11 songs, we worked on them tirelessly, and got them to a place we felt really, really good about. And then when it came time to get it out, it was still just a matter of like, what is this music? And I was getting, people were saying, oh, it's indie pop, it's pop rock. And then I realized, I was like, is there anything that exists that's called indie pop rock? Because like I see indie pop, I see pop rock, I see indie rock, but I've never seen somebody that's tagged with indie pop rock all in one. So I was like, I think that's what my music is. I think it's indie pop rock. So once I figured that out, we were able to kind of package it a little bit better. What I love with this project, though, one of my favorite aspects of it was the visuals. Because when it came down to get the cover for the album, I didn't know what I wanted to do. But one day I woke up, I was like, grand staircase. I didn't know, I was like, I need a grand staircase. So I started researching, started thinking, and then it dawned on me. As a kid, I used to go to the Vanderbilt Mansion at Hyde Park with my family. We went there all the time, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And in that moment, I was like, I got to call them. So I called the Vanderbilt Mansion and said, hey, I'm a musician. Can I do a photo shoot on the grand staircase? Thinking they would tell me to like F off. And they were just like, yeah, no problem. Pay us money and you can do that. It was a 7 a.m. on a Tuesday in December. I'm changing into a tuxedo outside because you're not allowed to change inside the space. So I'm literally like in my underwear in like, it was probably 25, it was freezing cold. And I'm just outside this stunning complex putting a tuxedo on. And me and my photographer, Mr. Mike Bloom, he's an amazing photographer. We went in there. We had 1 hour in the mansion.
Oh, wow.
And we just ran around and got so many amazing shots. So when you go check out Irrational on Instagram and even on Spotify, all the canvases and stuff, we use these photos from the Vanderbilt Mansion photo shoot. So it's awesome. So like looking back on it now, I'm so happy. Visually, it came together as well. Because like the music I'm really proud of, but then visually, I wanted them to kind of like coincide visually and the audio. And I'm really happy that we were able to get there. So that's.
I'm glad that you brought up Vanderbilt because I was snooping around and I was looking at some of the photos and I was like, That looks a lot like Vanderbilt. Is that Vanderbilt? I'm going to have to ask about that.
Dude, it was awesome.
So good. That's where I got my prom pictures.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah, outside, not inside, but still.
Stunning, man. Like the architect, I'm a nut for architecture. So like the fact that they let us do that is just like, I mean, being a quote unquote musician gets you into a lot of doors, I guess. So I'm really grateful they let us do that because that was just such a special part of the project. And now that I'll put it on Spotify, I'll see the cover. And I'm just like, man, we did it. Like it came together so well. So I'm just really proud of the work.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm so happy to hear about that. And the pictures that I've seen, I probably haven't seen them all, probably far from it. But from what I've seen, they are stunning.
Oh,
so that's awesome.
I know I'm biased when I talk about them.
No, be biased. You gotta hype yourself up. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's great about the process. That's great about the visuals to it. Let's talk about a couple of the songs specifically, and I want to know what they mean to you. If I got the order correctly, incorrectly, please correct me. I can't speak right now. See, this is what happens when you do too many interviews in one day.
It was a good thing you went to radio.
Yeah, I know. I was like, just... You
those linguistic exercises.
Absolutely. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickle pepper. Do that all day. Please correct me if I got the order of the singles wrong. But if I have it correct, What You Need to Know was your first single?
Yes. Yep.
Could you tell us about that? What is it that people need to know?
Yeah, so What You Need to Know, it's a fun one. So basically that song I wrote about... there's a lot of this in the album, but basically it's all kind of personal experiences of mine with like past relationships or whatever. And there was this one relationship I had with this girl that was, there's one song on the album called Too Beautiful, and that's the best representation. We all know people that like, they're literally just so beautiful that they don't really have to be human.
Yeah.
They can kind of be mean and vicious and get away with it because they're just pretty. So a lot of my songs try to like unmask that and show that like what's really important is on the inside. So What You Need to Know is basically I'm telling this person that is kind of self-inflated, that is causing a lot of problems in her life on her own right. Like, she's not really seeing that she's the reason that a lot of the things that are happening to her are happening. So I'm trying to be the voice of reason, showing her that what you need to know is that you need to spiritually work on yourself and evolve, get past your ego so that you can connect on a human level and understand that there's just so much more that's important than like our physical existence. Yeah. I think people get so absorbed with themselves and they assume that other people don't exist. They're just kind of they're their own star in their own movie. And I get that. That's just human nature. But at the end of the day, if you're able to get past that, get past your ego and connect with other people and other things on a spiritual level, you'll see that that's what's really important. So a lot of my music, the music isn't as obvious. A lot of my work that I do in my personal life, I'm always an advocate for meditation and spiritual development. I'm a big advocate for therapy and psychotherapy because, once you can get past these self-inflicted problems that we all kind of bring upon ourselves, you can bring beauty into the world. And I'm a good example of that, where like before I just discovered music, I was an anxious person. I had a lot of kind of shortcomings personally. And then I started doing the work, started meditating, started seeing a therapist, and it just led me on this completely new path. And now I wake up every day and I'm so excited to give to the world and to help people heal through my work and through my actions. And that's because I did that work. So I try to my music I try to use it as a vehicle to like express the underlying message of like love, positivity. And the music, like I said, it's not always direct. Like some people hear my music and they're like, I don't really get that from it, but that's the intention behind it, where it's like, I'm trying to use these stories to show people the importance of like overcoming, human afflictions.
That's amazing. And I think that is such a great way of going about it. I too, in like definitely since the pandemic, really had to sit down with myself and had to work on myself like a lot of people did. Right. And I think those kinds of messages and those kinds of stories are so important to be able to tell, because just as you said, there are people who get so fixated on themselves. There are other people who feel so isolated and alone at the same time as well. And it's the same coin, but two different sides to it. So being an artist and being able to tell those stories like you are, it's just such a gift to be able to help people that way. And I'm glad that it's helping you out in this way. It's a very rational way of going about things for somebody who's named their project Irrational. And I want to talk about Irrational, the single now, if you wouldn't mind. Again, great video on that. Great song. Seriously, I was bopping along to it. Tell us about Irrational.
Yeah, so that song is kind of it lives in the same world. That one is about when your partner basically walks away from everything irrational. She acts irrationally. So that's kind of in that moment where there's a line that says, "Now I'm standing on the floor that you wanted, and it feels so cold." So it's like, here I am in this house that you kind of forced me to build with your intentions and your ideas, and now you just up and leave. So it's basically what it is. It's irrational. We all tend to act irrationally. As a human, it's so easy to just act in the moment and not think about the long-term effects of the decisions and the actions you make, especially on those around you. So irrational is basically, I'm trying to tell this person that like you're acting short-sighted, and you're uprooting something that is beautiful, and you're not thinking about the long-term effects of that. So Irrational is kind of a highlight on that. The music is crazy. So there is a pedal steel solo on Irrational, which is crazy in the pop world. But which
I think is great. It sounded cool.
Yeah. So my producer Julian, he's a musical savant, and I love working with him. It's a dream. Like, we have such an amazing relationship creatively, where it's just a constant experimentation. We're not afraid to try anything. And one day he was just really into the pedal steel, and he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna lay down a pedal steel solo on this pop song," and it just worked. And I was like, so I just love it. Now I hear it, and I don't know if not everybody's gonna get that it's a pedal steel. Like, the people that know, they'll be like, "Oh, that's a pedal steel." But I just listened to it. I'm like, I just love that we pulled that off, because it's a pop song. It's a pop song, but there's a pedal steel solo. So it's just musically, it's every time I hear it, I'm like, man, I just love it. Like I said, it's all kind of experimental right now. Where I don't want to ever box myself into anything specific musically. Where I wake up and be like, oh, I want to try this, but does it match the brand? I don't want that. I want to be able to just constantly evolve my skill set, constantly evolve my creativity, and allow myself the freedom to try new things. So Irrational is kind of a testament to that. Where it's like, let's just put a pedal steel, call it Irrational, and that's it. So it's fun.
That is fun. That is so, so good. And I'm really happy about this project for you. I can't wait to dive more into it. As I said, I've only listened to a few songs. I can't wait to listen to the full album. This is fantastic. So where can people go to find your music now?
Yeah, so basically I had a branding issue, so I had to recently make a new Instagram specifically for my music.
Okay.
Because I would post one video of me hiking, talking about the importance of meditating, and then put out a song called "What You Need to Know" about talking. There was kind of an issue there, because my music doesn't necessarily always match who I am as a person, because it's an artist's perspective. So there's a lot of stories and stuff that. Whatever. So I had to split it. So you can go to S Rennison is my Instagram. That's Shane. You can Google Shane Rennison now. I'm grateful. It's been a lot of work, but you can officially Google Shane Rennison, and all my stuff should come up. You'll see all the editorials. You'll see all my socials and stuff. But Shane Rennison on Instagram, Facebook. Shane Rennison Music is where you can go specifically to find the music stuff. That's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. And I have a few more gigs lined up. I do an acoustic cover set where I play an acoustic song. I do cover songs, and I do that full time. And I'm grateful that Catskills has a pretty big market for that, so I'm able to do it full time. And so I'm always playing somewhere. I might not necessarily be playing my studio releases. I might be playing Brown Eyed Girl or something. But
nothing wrong with that. Van Morrison.
Yeah, but I'm always talking about my music. Always, I'm just always grateful for any platform I get. So you can go to my social media, find out where I'm playing. Come check me out. And also stay tuned. Right now I'm planning we shot a music video for one of the songs on the album called Long Road. And we just got the final cut back this week, and it's phenomenal, way better than I thought it was going to come out. It's like very cinematic. The team that did it is a movie production team, and it just came out like way better than I thought it was going to be. So I was like, nah, I kind of want to give it a spotlight. So I'm planning a music video premiere at a local theater at the Hurleyville Performing Arts Center, which is over, HPAC. So we're still figuring out the details, but we're looking for that event. It'll be like mid-fall. I kind of want like perfect fall vibe. Like I want people to come out in their sweaters, get pumpkin spice and all that.
There you go.
But we're gonna premiere that music video along with another music video that we shot with my band. So we'll have like 2 really cool videos to show. There'll be a bunch of free food, free drinks. Stay tuned for that. We're gonna, it'll be on my social. I'll be talking all about that over the next few months and stuff as we get that together.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. And of course, we'll have links and information in the description of this interview, so you don't have to go hunting too far. Got it all one place for you. Shane, thank you so much for coming in for this Town Square Spotlight. This has been awesome. I hope it's been worth the wait for you. This has been great. Well,
I was going to say, I send so many emails, and anybody in this world creatively, they know you barely hear back from anybody, especially when you're trying to like book gigs and stuff. Mm. So the fact that I hear back from you is like a blessing. So no worries, man. I know the logistics of things. I figured it would work out. So I'm just grateful to be here.
Dude, I got to ask, isn't it nice when somebody responds to you, even when it's a no, just versus just being totally ghosted?
Yes, depending on how it's worded. So
okay, that's fair. That's fair too.
Recently, I played at a place, really nice space. I know the people that owned it. They're wonderful, wonderful people. I played there when they first opened back in September, and they were trying to figure it out. They were running through a few different managers and stuff. So I reached back out maybe in like February. Just, sent an email, hey, I played there back in September. I'd like to try to book again. And I got kind of like an automated response, and it was like, sorry, no. It was like based on your last performance, we don't want to have you back. It was something like that. And I was like, oh, it really hurt. So like, sometimes it's almost better not to get an email. But funny enough, long story short, the new manager that took over, actually, I met up with him somewhere else. He was like, oh, you should come play it. Told him the whole story. And he's like, oh, he felt so bad. So basically they had, the story was like they had an outside company that was hiring, and they just get inundated with so many people trying to book that they literally had to like spam emails like, sorry, just because they had like a catalog of people that they were trying to get in. So he apologized. Yeah, I figured it was something like that. I'm sure, I always try to like make sure I never burn any bridges, and I always try to like respect people and stuff. So I was surprised by their response. But then he was like, he said not to take it personally, so that helped.
See, you can't replace the real human connection.
Exactly, yeah.
You really can't, and that is a prime testament to that. Yeah. Wow.
That being said, just a plug to anybody that hasn't been to it. It is a beautiful, beautiful space. The beer is amazing. The food is. I haven't had the food in a long time, but when I did have it back in September, it was amazing. So definitely check it out. This is not to deter people from going there. This is they have good people there, and it's a great place. So definitely go check it out.
Sweet. No, that sounds fantastic. Shane, before we wrap things up, do you have any last little nugget you want to share with our Hudson Valley listening audience?
I'm just really, really grateful to be alive at this point in my life. I really realize life is just so fragile, and to have this opportunity that I have to do this work, to be given a platform like I have today with you, is just something I don't take lightly. So every time I have a platform like this, I just pray that the universe use me in that moment to just express love, to try to help the world heal in any way I can with my speech, my singing, whatever it is, my actions. And that's where I am just every day. I just pray for that. So I'm just really grateful to be here, to have this opportunity, and just can't wait to just keep going and see what else I can pull off.
Beautiful. You really do seem like you have a lot going for you, and you got a lot together. So seriously, I am expecting and hoping so many good things come your way, Shane.
Thank you. Me too.
Absolutely. Again, thank you for coming on this Town Square Spotlight.
Yeah, thank you. Be well, man.